Welcome back, everybody, to Bears Talk today. I am Michael DeFrancisco, joined by my favorite co-host, Justin Evans. Now, this is going to be a good episode. I'm excited. You know, the Bears snapped their two-game losing streak with a 24-18 home win against the Los Angeles Rams. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about today. What was kind of your first initial takeaways from the game yesterday?
For myself, other than us having a touchdown before the third quarter, it was just that was very nice, right? But overall, I felt like our offense finally clicked. I felt like DeAndre Swift really had a breakout game, which is very phenomenal to see. And I just thought overall we seemed comfortable. And I feel like, when you play at home, you play better. So yes. I'm glad that we were able to get a win against a team that we had more talent to start with. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, what about yourself?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. The Bears this year are 2-0 at home, and they're 0-2 on the road.
Yeah.
Playing at home does have a positive effect, right?
It does.
And I thought the Bears, I think they played their best game of the year so far, which is encouraging. Hopefully the progress is linear here on out.
Yeah.
But I think, why don't we switch it up a little bit? In the last couple of episodes coming off of losses, we've, touched on the good, and then we've gotten into all the bad. Why don't we start with the bad so that we could fill the majority of the segment with positivity? Because, we've been getting some comments. You guys have been saying we're a little negative. I feel like that was kind of directed at me. So I did pick the Bears to lose.
It wasn't me.
I did pick the Bears to lose. So my biggest negative from yesterday was the penalties, right? 10 penalties, 84 yards. That's way too many penalties. It's way too many penalty yards against a really good team that could definitely cost you in a big moment in a tighter game. So I think the Bears need to clean that up a little bit. I also thought their rushing defense wasn't at its peak.
No.
Kyren Williams ran 19 times for 94 yards, almost exactly 5 yards of rush, had that rushing touchdown. Outside of those two things, I really don't have a complaint.
Yeah.
I thought the Bears managed the game well. But unless you have any complaints, then I think we could probably jump right into the positives.
And this is not even really a complaint. This is more of just me wanting to see all of our wonderful receivers shine. Rome only got one catch yesterday.
Yeah, it's true.
Keenan Allen, his first game, he got three catches, 19 yards, which is good. But I get the point of that we are going to have a lot of options. But I think we definitely need to do a better job of making sure, we have more involvement, especially when it comes to guys like Rome and Keenan. Cole Kmet was decent. He wasn't. Never mind. He was. He wasn't decent. He only had 3 catches, 34 yards. So definitely, and I think that comes with time too, especially having a new wide receiver in the lineup. This was Keenan's first game of the season, so I expect for him to kind of adjust in the lineup. But besides the penalties, that was all I had. There was not much to look down upon in his game.
Yeah, to your point, this was definitely the DeAndre Swift game. Right?
Yes.
He had double the catches of our next best guy and had double the yards.
He did.
And he was our offense. And there was a lot of talk this week, about the running game and about Shane Waldron and about DeAndre Swift. And there were reports that the Bears were going to give other guys like Roschon Johnson a chance to shine. And I saw him kind of subbing in early in the game. But truthfully, outside of Roschon's touchdown, DeAndre Swift dominated this game from the running back standpoint. He was the clear workhorse yesterday for the Bears. 16 carries, 93 yards, averaged 5.8 yards per carry, which looks a lot like he did last year when he was with Philadelphia and that awesome offensive line. And then, like we said, 7 catches for 72 yards. So DeAndre Swift was a huge positive in this game. The run blocking was a huge positive in this game. The run game, had been much better than we have seen so far this year. And you know what? That, I think, in turn, helped Caleb Williams. He finally had a running game, right?
Yeah.
He's not throwing the ball 52 times like he was last week. He threw the ball 23 times, completed 17 of those. We have Caleb Williams. We have the graphic for his stat line up there as well. 157 yards, which doesn't jump off the page.
No.
But he managed the game. He played within the offense. I always, was taught growing up from my coaches, you can't go broke making a profit, right? He was taking the little underneath throws that the defense was giving him. He was staying ahead of the chains, and it was allowing the Bears offense to play with rhythm, to not, play in 2nd and 15 or 3rd and 8 or whatever it was. I thought this was a very good formula for the Bears. You had the good running game. You had Caleb making good decisions. Had a couple deep shots that he maybe, was a touch too he was touch off with a little bit, and that's something that he's still got to work on.
Yeah.
But the throw to DJ Moore, my goodness,
man.
collapsing
Beautiful.
pocket, back corner of the end zone. It was beautiful. So I think it's safe to say Caleb played the best game of his career so far.
And I agree. I think overall, I'll say this because we still have a lot of season left.
Yeah.
I think it was his most controlled game so far,
Absolutely.
right? I saw a stat line for, I think, under 10 yards or less. He was 15 for 15 on yesterday, right? That's sensational. And that's honestly what wins games, right? Is making the short plays. And I've preached this in previous episodes before, but, a quarterback, yes, we want our quarterbacks to throw the hero ball and to be as great as, like a Lamar or Patrick Mahomes, but sometimes getting the easier completions in the short games is what wins games, is what wins games, and that's what he did here. So, shout out to Caleb for not. I think the only, I guess, another mini negative is there were a couple of times when he did stay in the pocket a little too long, but I think that comes with time and adjustment. But safe to say that our O-line sort of held up, but not really. Both quarterbacks took 3 sacks each, so it wasn't like it was like, oh my gosh, one O-line was better than the other.
Yeah, we're not the 90s Cowboys.
No. They're not getting all day. But overall, I thought he was really controlled. He played well. He seemed confident, and, versus the other couple of games we had in the season where it was just a bunch of overthrows and kind of just almost there, and
trying to make a play a little too much. Forcing some throws. No, but I agree. Like, look at the Chiefs since they traded away Patrick Mahomes, right? They're downfield passing, they're deep attack.
You said Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. Patrick. Well, I'm talking about Patrick Mahomes for a second.
Oh, okay.
The way that they play ever since they've traded Tyreek Hill. It's not all just deep shots and boundary plays. And I'm going to throw the ball. It's a lot of underneath stuff. It's a lot of just keeping the ball moving, getting those first downs, whatever. That's how Caleb. Sometimes you got to play that way, and that's how Caleb played yesterday. So I was very happy to see him play like that. I do agree. I'd maybe like to see him run a little bit more. Yeah. Maybe escape a few of those, but I'm okay. He's staying strong. He's staying confident in the pocket, which I really like. Speaking of the receivers, though, for a second, I am getting a little, I don't want to say concerned, but there's been a lot of miscommunications that he's had with DJ Moore. Yeah. And I'm wondering if maybe those two guys aren't on the same page. I saw DJ Moore after the game talk about, it was my fault. Like, on the play where I believe it was cover 2, DJ Moore had that inside release. Yeah. And kind of, Caleb kind of threw it over his head.
And slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, he slowed down a little bit. I think that was maybe a miscommunication. But, we'd like to see the Bears maybe hit those chunk plays a little bit more. Yeah. Because, again, yesterday they hit a lot of the short stuff. Maybe hit those chunk plays, I think, would unlock another level of this offense. But, the offensive line, they deserve major kudos. They were much better yesterday. They were. Matt Pryor, who, we were not happy with last week, filling in for Nate Davis. He was awesome. I mean, he was a mauler yesterday. It was great to see. Cole Kmet with some great blocks as well.
Yes,
but Justin, for sure. I think we would be remiss if we're talking about offense to not bring up
the GOAT,
the guy who comes in on fourth
Shane
downs.
Waldron masterclass.
I'm gonna need about 4 of these games before I even
say
a nice thing about Shane. No. Tory Taylor was legitimately awesome in this game.
Yes, he was.
Legitimately awesome. When you take a punter in the 4th round, there's going to be some eyebrows raised. And I understand it, right? That guy better be like Joe Montana of punters. Yeah, and that might be what Tory Taylor is. He is awesome. He had some punts perfectly placed, completely flipped the field. I mean, I think he had multiple 60-yard punts yesterday. He did. And, in the NFL today with all this offense and all of these, big plays and everything, we don't talk a lot about field position. No. And especially now with the new kickoff rule, the ball comes out to the 30-yard line. Field position favors the offense more than ever. Tory Taylor absolutely flipped the field multiple times. He made the Rams go on 8, 9, 10, 11 play drives to get into scoring position. And with how good the Bears' defense is, the teams are already behind the 8 ball. Yeah. Then you get coffin cornered, at your own 5-yard line, let's just say. Absolutely, he was a huge reason we won this game, especially on that last drive. Yeah. Stafford had to basically work out of his own end zone. Yeah, so shout out Tory Taylor. I know punters don't get love unless your name's Pat McAfee, but Tory Taylor, you deserve major props. You are a big reason that the Bears won the game yesterday. Yeah. And then, of course, the other positive, hey, our defense is pretty good.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And, I mean, just looking at it yesterday, looking at this stat sheet, there are so many guys who contributed to our win yesterday. And, I think that's what is our strong suit. And I feel like this is slowly I don't want to say slowly because obviously we have a better quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky a couple of years ago. But, I think that's what most of our teams throughout the years have been known for is defense. So to see that be consistent, the saying's always defense wins championships. So I'm happy that we have a good defense. I mean, our offense is still kind of but you know what? We're picking up on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was. I just thought overall, like, there were so many guys that made so many great plays yesterday, and I mean that's what it's all about. It's a team game. I mean, there's no one person who can. I mean, yet partially yes, but all those guys went out there and played their best. So
speaking of one person, how about our player of the game, Jaquan Brisker?
Yes,
absolutely. Defense is a team effort, but I thought Jaquan Brisker himself had a phenomenal day. He had 9 tackles, he had a sack, he had a pick, the game-winning pick. I'm going to give him credit for 2 picks because the one that he had against Stafford earlier in the game, I thought was a little bogus.
Yeah, no.
He stepped out of bounds, didn't reestablish himself, whatever. I'm going to say he had 2 interceptions, even though the Rams kind of got bailed out and they got a field goal from that drive. He was all over the field. He was running around making plays. He was, big against the run game. Like we said, he was a ball hawk, had 2 interceptions, had the sack on Matthew Stafford, on a key down late in the game. That is the type of game that you want to see from your hybrid safety, right? Yeah. We've seen it with guys like Kyle Hamilton. Last night he was all over the field. Wherever the ball is, he's at, right? And if the Bears can have a guy who is like a heat-seeking missile, like Jaquan Brisker, who is making plays all over the field, that just adds an element to your defense. That offense is just, they're hard to keep track of, right? It's hard to block a guy that fast. It's it's hard to account for him whenever he goes. So I thought great game from Jaquan Brisker, absolutely. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I know I've been negative. When the Rams got the ball back on that last drive, I texted Justin and I said, "Uh-oh, I don't have a good feeling about this."
Right.
I've seen this story one too many times with Matthew Stafford. I thought he was going to march down the field, he was going to score a touchdown, and the Bears were going to lose by a point. But Jaquan Brisker made that the shortest game-winning drive of all time. It was one play. It was an interception. So shout out to Jaquan Brisker for not leaving us in suspense. Man. He ended that game real quick. But he deserves a lot of credit. This defense deserves a lot of credit. Outside of the running game, which I said was a little sus for the Bears. I think the big stat in this game was that the Rams were 1 for 4 in the red zone.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
Every time you kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown, that's basically 4 points off the board for you. So the Rams basically left 12 points on the board. Because of how good the Bears were in the red zone. And I understand the Rams don't have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, but Sean McVay is still a genius, and Matthew Stafford is still a phenomenal quarterback. We saw Matthew Stafford making a lot of plays in this game. Like he did not have a bad game. 20 of 29, 224 yards, no touchdowns with 1 interception.
Yeah.
But the Bears, they stiffened up when they got in the red zone. It was bend but don't break. They were giving them yards. They were letting them move between the 20s. They got down there and they couldn't score. And I think that's another big reason why the Bears won yesterday.
Definitely. And going into our questions, Mike, for you, how much of this win of the Bears improving, how much of this win was it more a factor of the Bears improving because the Rams are being banged up, or do you think that wasn't really effective because of it?
So I think it's a little bit of both. I do think that it was a little bit of the Rams being banged up, but I also have to give credit where credit is due. The Bears came out. They looked better. Offensively, there was talk this week about the meeting that the players and the captains had with Shane Waldron about his play calling.
Yep.
And I thought that was improved. The offensive line was certainly improved. Caleb improved in the sense that he was taking the short completions and he wasn't, being too aggressive. Caleb didn't have a turnover in this game, which is something we haven't been able to say since week 1.
Yeah, right.
So that was great. So I do think that we need to give the Bears credit for improving this game. A lot of the facets that they had been struggling in the last several weeks, they improved on greatly. This defense kept up their very high quality of play. As we've known, Bears defense has been kind of here and the offense has been here. Well, the offense got a little closer to the defense yesterday, and so I do think they deserve credit for improving. Although, when you're missing the playmakers that the Rams are, I know obviously I think Havenstein got hurt in the middle of the game yesterday for the Rams. They're banged up. That's the NFL. I mean, what are you going to do? I'm not going to say that this was a fluke win because the Rams were all banged up. It happens. It's the National Football League, and you have to roll with the punches. And the Rams put up a good fight, but the Bears, they were the better team yesterday, which is good to hear. But I ask you, Justin, speaking of Caleb Williams and the offense and the improvements, do you think that was the best game that he's played so far this season?
I'm going to say no. I feel like the best is yet to come, and I honestly think it's because I feel like he can. Once he gains the confidence, and I feel like for him, if he plays relaxed, then there's no way that – not saying that there's no way we can lose, but we have a pretty good chance of winning, right? It's all about making the easy plays first. And when you haven't – I think in the game before, one of the broadcasters had said, like, hey, you're not – I think to Caleb, he was saying, like, oh, we don't have many chances to throw the deep ball, and when we do, we want to take those chances. So those chances will come when you get a 20, 30-yard play. But, he played a simple, easy game. I mean, his quarterback rating was, I think, 106. Yeah,
106.6.
Oh, yeah, 106.6. That's pretty darn good. So it's games like these where, it doesn't pop out on the stat sheet of, hey, he had a 250-yard game with 2 touchdowns, but he won, and that's all that matters. And that's all, that's the most important thing. So to answer your question, I don't think he had his best game of the season, but I did think he had one of his most matured / controlled games of the season so far.
Yeah, no, I think the other big positive is when you're able to run the ball, it keeps the defense honest, right? Yep. They can't just pin their ears back and go attack Caleb and be prepared, for all the downfield routes. The Rams, the Bears kind of had the Rams on their toes. They were able to run the ball successfully, so the Rams had to play the Bears more honest, and that allowed, I think, some good passing lanes to open up for Caleb Williams and the passing game as well. And I just think, again, that's just a good relationship between the running and passing game, right? The old adage is, you need the run game to set up the pass.
Yep.
You got to have play action. You got to have this and that. And the Bears have kind of proven the last several weeks how with no running game, it's a lot harder to pass.
Very
you know
much
what I'm saying?
so.
Those DNs, they're just licking their chops thinking about getting off the edge and going to attack Caleb Williams. But I think, we have a question on here about the run game being the key to Caleb's development. I'm going to say absolutely. And I'm going to point to a different example here. I want you guys to go watch what's happening with the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels is playing out of his mind right now, and he absolutely deserves so much credit for that. But the Commanders are also running the ball very, very well right now. Brian Robinson is having a phenomenal start to the year. Cliff Kingsbury, to his credit, I've been critical of him before. Cliff Kingsbury has done a great job of setting up this Commanders team to where they're able to run the ball well, keep the defense honest, and then he's allowed Jaden Daniels to play, I guess, easier. He's allowed Jaden Daniels to, be able to be in more favorable down and distance. The passing concepts are working. I mean, they have 1 punt in the last 3 weeks. Right? They're running the ball well. Jaden Daniels is honestly playing historically well. And I know, we didn't have this on the script, Justin, but I just want to bring this up if you don't mind. Stop having wandering eyes, please. Everybody's, oh yeah, Caleb's good, but look at Jaden Daniels. We should have taken Jaden Daniels. We're 4 weeks in, all right? We are 4 weeks in. Please stop with the we should have taken Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is better, this, that, whatever. Give it time, all right? Give it time. Because Caleb, we have seen, a linear path for growth from Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah, we have.
And Jaden Daniels came out of the gate just awesome. I mean, complete credit to him. He's been phenomenal this year. I think he's completing like 76% of his passes or something, which is ridiculous for the first 4 games of the year. Absolutely playing out of his mind. But let's give Caleb some time, all right? Not everybody comes out of the gate like that. Maybe there'll be an adjustment period for Jaden Daniels. I think the big difference between Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams right now is that Jaden Daniels is hitting those home runs over the top.
Yeah.
He is connecting on those deep routes. And we knew that coming in, Jaden Daniels was going to have a really good deep ball. I mean, that's exactly what he did at LSU.
Yeah.
He's made some huge plays. Awesome. Good for Jaden Daniels. I wish him nothing but the best. Caleb will soon start hitting those deep balls. He actually hit a lot of those deep balls at USC. He was very, very good down the field. For whatever reason, it just hasn't synced up yet in the NFL. But I have no doubt that Caleb is going to be a really, really good deep ball thrower, as his season and as his career moves on. It's just, chemistry and timing and all of those things that he'll just need to get under wraps. But honestly, I have no worry that the Bears, picked the wrong guy. I'm not thinking like that right now. I think I'm happy with what Caleb Williams is doing. I'm happy with the progress he's making. I mean, imagine, you're with a girl and all you're ever thinking about is who's more attractive and who does this. You're going to ruin yourself. Just be happy with what you have and see the progress. That doesn't sound right. You know what I mean?
See the progress.
Bears fans need to see the progress with Caleb Williams and be happy and be content to know they have someone special, just like you have someone special in your own relationship. I'm just giving out free therapy advice. I'm gonna kick it to you, Justin.
Yeah, no, the Cupid over here is killing it today.
Right.
So we can go into our next question, and we can both answer it if we'd like.
Yeah.
Do you think the Bears are a playoff team right now?
Asked me this last week, and I wasn't very confident. Asked me this week, and I'm seeing again, the improvement with Caleb Williams. I saw the improvement with the offensive line yesterday. Now, granted, the Rams are not the most talented defensive line you've ever seen.
No.
I understand, Jared Verse is a good edge rusher. Braden Fisk is a good defensive tackle. He's not very good against the run. We kind of running all over him. So I think if our progress continues, if the offensive line can play competently throughout the rest of the year, I'm not asking for elite. I'm not asking for the Eagles. I'm not none of that. Just play confidently. Caleb Williams, I think, will continue to improve. Like I said, I think he's going to continue to hit those deep shots, or he's going to start hitting those deep shots, those big chunk plays. Hopefully we can run the ball well. Looking at their schedule, they still have all of their divisional teams left.
Yeah.
And, this division looks really good.
I know, right? Surprisingly.
Vikings went up 28 against Green Bay in Lambeau yesterday. I know the game was close at the end, but Vikings are really, really good. The Packers are still good. Jordan Love is not going to be as rusty as he was. And then, obviously, we'll see how Detroit does against Seattle tonight. But this division is really good, so that does make it difficult. And we have to play all of our division games still. We have not played one yet.
Yeah.
So, at this point, I would lean no. However, I think if you were trying to convince me that the Bears are a playoff team, I could hear you out much more after yesterday. Yeah. I wasn't really hearing you out after the Texans and Colts game, but if you told me that after yesterday's game, I said I'll hear you out. I'll give you a chance to argue, which I think that you're about to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think definitely. I agree with Mike. I think we're still not there yet, but I will say if this team does keep improving to where we can kind of have our run game and our throw game be on all cylinders, we have a good shot to win a game. I'm not going to say we're going to win the Super Bowl, but really when you look at the NFC, potentially I could say maybe like 3, you get the Niners.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
That's another one. We got the Niners, yeah.
I'm like, let's say we got 49ers. Eagles are kind of They're not doing so hot right now.
Yeah.
I know I'm forgetting. I'm just thinking of just like preseason, like not now because obviously
Seahawks are undefeated.
Yeah,
throw that out there.
Seahawks, yeah. Go ahead, go Hawks.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have some good teams in the NFC, and definitely with our with our playoff format that we have now that's been in for a couple of years, I definitely think if we continue to have breakout games from the Swifts of the world, and we have a breakout game from DJ Moore, I think we can definitely win a game in the playoffs. But we're still not there yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, our division. Oh my gosh, Sam Darnold might win MVP.
Sam Darnold looks like Joe Montana.
This. Yeah.
What reality did we jump into?
Yeah. Somebody was playing my franchise and decided to let them.
Right. My career mode.
Yeah. Jeez.
Well, and I'll say this too. Just again, if we're looking at the playoffs, we are a little far ahead. But
yes,
I talked about in our pre-week 1 show about the gauntlet of the schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, November 17th against Green Bay, then against Minnesota, then against the Lions, then at the 49ers, then at Minnesota, then we play the Lions, then we play Seattle, then we play Green Bay. Like this last third of the schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal. And, again, we just talked about the Vikings. They're a lot better than I thought they were. The Lions are really, really good. We got to play the Commanders in a few weeks who look awesome.
Yeah.
So this schedule I don't think is very favorable for the Bears going forward, except for the team that we play next week. If we could throw up that Week 5 graphic, let's talk about it. Week 5, the Bears are at home once again against the Carolina Panthers. Panthers who are led by former Bears quarterback and potentially Bears legend, Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, of course, was here for the 2021 season. And ever since he's become the starter in Carolina, they have looked much better.
Yeah,
much better. They started off 0-2 under Bryce Young. The offense was inept. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't get first downs. They couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And last week, they put a beating on the Raiders. And then this week, they were competitive against the Bengals. Now, I know the Bengals haven't had a good start to the year, but we all kind of know the Bengals are a pretty good team. Andy Dalton led the Panthers to only a 10-point loss, 34-20, which only 10 points, right?
Yeah.
34-24. Andy Dalton was 25 of 40 for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He was even better the week prior. So I ask you, Justin, what are some of the key matchups in this game that the Bears need to account for in order to beat Carolina at home?
I would say for me, some of the key matchups that I'm looking at is you have a veteran versus a rookie. Now, we saw what happened previous game against the Rams, and the rookie won. But I also have a little bit of worry because I feel like when you're a team that has gone losing to winning, that does carry a momentum into your next game, right? But definitely the quarterback matchup is honestly really the only thing that I see.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
I mean, like I know last week you said some of the Rams players are Walmart employees, and it might be the same thing. It might be Kroger employees because
God.
it's Carolina, so they might
Yeah.
have that. Or Publix employees. But
Yeah,
honestly, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I mean, once again, on paper, we have way more talented receivers, tight ends than the Panthers do, and I feel like for this one, it should be an easy one to win. But I don't really see any big eye-popping matchups except for the quarterback position. What about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought with the Rams we were better in every personnel department, arguably except for quarterback. Well, not arguably, except for quarterback.
Yeah.
And coach was a big advantage for the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, I think it's pretty across the board. The Bears, I think Caleb is probably – maybe Andy Dalton's better right now, but it's not as wide of a margin as Matthew Stafford. Like you said, receivers, running backs, tight ends were better. Defense were certainly better.
Yeah.
The Panthers' defense has been struggling mightily this first 4 weeks of the year. But yeah, I think one of the key matchups in this game is going to be Chuba Hubbard for the Carolina Panthers, who has been underrated the last couple of weeks. I thought he's been underrated since he's been in the league, but he's put up a nice couple of weeks as the undeniable lead back in Carolina with Andy Dalton playing quarterback. The Bears, they've been a little susceptible to the running game the last couple of weeks. I mentioned Kyron Williams yesterday, had a really nice game. Week prior, Jonathan Taylor. So I think priority number one needs to be containing Chuba Hubbard. I think he's their best weapon at this point. But in terms of their receivers, they have the young guy Xavier Legette, who had his first big breakout game against Carolina. So shout out him. Has the coolest accent of all time. I don't know if you've seen that video.
I have seen that video.
The coolest accent of all time.
Yes.
And when he scored yesterday, he did the little horse celebration, which was great. Deontay Johnson, he's a fine receiver by any means. I mean, these guys aren't making Pro Bowls this year. Let's be honest. So I think our secondary should have a good time containing them. But you're right. It's a veteran quarterback. It's against a rookie quarterback. Andy Dalton, I don't think, will make the big mistakes that will allow the Bears just to run away with it early on. I think he's going to keep the Panthers in the game.
Oh, for sure.
But by and large, I mean, this should be a game that the Bears take care of business.
Yeah.
It's the National Football League. Wins are hard. There are no freebies. But this is as close as it gets, right?
Yeah.
At home against a team that's 1-3, they've looked like one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. And I understand that they've had new life under Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
But they're still, personnel-wise, not a very good team. I do want to talk about their coach, Dave Canales, who was formerly the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, and then previously the quarterback coach with Seattle. I do think that there will be some familiarity with Shane Waldron because they did work together in Seattle. Canales was obviously right under Shane Waldron. So I think Shane Waldron, should have a good idea of maybe some of the concepts that the Panthers are running and the way that they teach things. They both obviously worked under Pete Carroll. I know Dave Canales, he's stressed turnovers are his biggest thing. He wants the Panthers to win the turnover battle, which I don't believe they have. But they've not been, just giving the ball away loosey-goosey. Yeah. Which is loosey-goosey is a very technical term, by the way. I don't know if you heard that. It's straight from the Vince Lombardi School of Football.
Wow.
Dave Canales, he's 4 games into his NFL career. There's really no analysis to be made. He's trying his best. It's not a very talented team that he's working with, so I'm not going to judge him too harshly. But in terms of coaching, I do think that the Bears defense should shut down this Panthers offense. I mean, there really shouldn't be a reason why the Bears lose this game.
Yeah,
and I say that as respectfully as possible, but there really shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I agree with you. There really shouldn't be a reason why the Bears lose this game. And I swear, Chicago Bears, if you lose this game, you make us look stupid next week. I'm gonna have to clip myself on social media saying how wrong I was. No,
yeah, please don't.
Right, but no, I mean, this is not a team that we should be afraid of, not by any means necessary. And I think, like I said before, on paper, we look really good against them. So I have no worries. I have no doubts. Hopefully I'm right. And obviously, I think if we can get a win streak going before we have to head to London in a couple of weeks, I think that'll be helpful. I mean, it already helps that the Jaguars are 0-4. So let's say they got 1-5 next week. We go in there, we beat their tails. But I mean, obviously, let's focus on week 5 first. So like I said before, I think this should be an easy game for us to win. I mean, I think Andy Dalton will put up a fight for sure, but I think we will win, and I will say I'll do a 10-point lead on this one. I'll say Bears 24, Panthers 14.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something very similar. I'm gonna go maybe 27-17. I think 10 points is probably fair.
Yeah.
I think in a world where Andy Dalton just maybe plays out of his mind, but this Bears defense has not let us down all year. They've been really, really good. And of course, I think the Bears offense has a good matchup. I think this is the worst defense we've played all year in the Carolina Panthers. I mean, did you see that Jamar Chase touchdown that he had?
Yeah.
Where he's bouncing off 3 dudes and he's
crazy.
That's just poor coaching, poor tackling.
Very much so.
This again, I think maybe it's sad that we're saying this in week 5, but this is maybe the last freebie that the Bears have, because a lot of these other teams on our schedule, like Washington, I thought before the year was a win. Jane Daniels is playing
it's insane.
Prime, Lamar Jackson. So I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah.
But no, I think the Bears win 27-17. I don't necessarily think this. You often hear the phrase trap game, where you get a good team the next week, and this team you kind of take your eyes off of and you don't pay enough attention to, and then they get you. Jaguars almost did that to the Texans yesterday. The game got close. So maybe this, you could say, oh, trap game. I don't think so. I don't think the Jaguars are a strong enough opponent to look ahead to, to feel like a trap game. But this should be a Bears win. Should be a fairly easy Bears win. Again, 27-17 is my prediction. I think Caleb has a really good game. I'm expecting some fireworks from Caleb, and I'm expecting the running game to be good as well, because Panthers, we didn't even mention their player personnel on defense, but their best pass rusher was Brian Burns. They traded him to the Giants.
Yep.
And their other best pass rusher, a really good interior defensive tackle, Derek Brown, out for the year. So they're definitely depleted on the defensive side. I think their best player remaining would be J.C. Horn, the corner, who's he's a talented young player. He's dealt with some injuries, but not enough to strike fear.
No.
We're not going against Deion Sanders here. Let's be honest.
Deion Sanders is
Let's
crazy.
be honest.
Yeah. But I had one more question for you, Mike, before we end today.
Yeah.
If you had to give our offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, a grade for yesterday's game, what would you give him?
C for participation. He showed up to class. He didn't do homework. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, I'm critical. Because I care. And Shane Waldron yesterday came out. At first, I thought, we got another week of this.
Yeah.
But as the game went on, I thought his play calls were better. He got the offense in groove. He stuck with the running game. He gave Caleb an opportunity to succeed. So I'll give him, for yesterday only, I'll give him a B. Wow. He was good yesterday. He was good. Nothing stuck out to me as terrible play calling or terrible management. I will say I didn't like the read option on the third down on the last real drive. I didn't like that read option call. I get the logic of wanting to get Caleb moving, and I know I sound contradictory when I said I want to see Caleb's legs used more. Maybe not in a play like that. Didn't love the read option call. Outside of that, I thought he did a pretty good job, especially against his old mentor in Sean McVay.
Yeah,
he did good. And there was the meeting with communication. We got to do this, and the captains met with him. I thought he took their concerns and changed his ways a little bit. So I will give him a little bit of credit, as much as it pains me. I'll give him some credit. He did well yesterday. Yeah, and I hope he continues that momentum going forward.
I agree. I mean, I give him a C+ for having talent on his team, or else he'd look really bad.
Yeah.
And also, for the love of God, no more screens, please.
Yeah.
I'm tired of seeing.
Well, hey, there were no speed options yesterday, so we at least improved. One baby steps, Justin. Baby steps.
Yeah, you're right. But I don't want to see anymore. Please, I don't want to see anymore. But yeah, I mean, I thought he did okay. I mean, it wasn't like. I think when you sometimes have good talent, it saves your butt almost, because if he didn't and he was just having kind of just mid-level talent, and we'd be like, oh my gosh, he's still bad. But I think definitely having listening to his players was key, and you can definitely tell in this game it showed. So I'm hoping that he listens to his players even more, because if he does, we'll have a greater chance to win more games, and hopefully we can be proven wrong about Shane Waldron.
Yeah, I'd love to be wrong. Listen, I'd love to be wrong. If he's, Bill Walsh in disguise, I would
Bill
love
Walsh.
to see it. If he's going to reinvent the West Coast offense. But outside of that, I think that that pretty much wraps us up, right?
Yeah, no, that wraps us up. Thank you all for watching. I think we're at 40 subscribers on YouTube, which is insane. I didn't know.
I love all of you.
As Mike said, we love all of you, and we enjoy doing this for you guys. And please, if you want to see more of our content, please follow our socials at Bears Talk Today. We're everywhere. And, we'll see you guys next week to talk about hopefully another win against the Carolina Panthers.
Please don't embarrass us, Bears.
Please.